Welcome to the only show recorded in the video store of the mind. It is a spooky bowl of cereal drowning in nostalgia milk. This is Night Shift Video. Each week, we review a scary movie and we share the real spooky stories and paranormal mysteries that they are based on. Before we get into it, don't forget to like, subscribe, do all those internet things. You can leave us any review, anything at all, and we will read it on the show. My name is James. I am a horrible host, and tonight I am joined by this guy.
I'm Cody.
Well, Cody, just like all summer camp trips, have to come to an end.
No.
So does our journey down the trip to Camp Nite Shift.
Oh.
The trip down Sleepaway Camp Lane.
I, to some degree, have been looking forward to this because you kind of told me week one that this is kind of how it culminates.
Right.
But also, like, sad day. It's been fun.
It is a sad day. I do have one final summer camp, campfire, ghost story, spooky story, whatever we called them.
Love it.
It's camp legend, myth stories.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I got one more of those. It's the longest one that we've had so far.
Oh.
So I saved the longest and I think the best for last.
I love it.
Okay. Let's get down and dirty. Ojai, California is a hot valley in one of the driest parts of the state. Scrub brush is everywhere. Long story short, it's very prone to wildfires. One such fire in 1948 was particularly large and burned a large portion of the valley. In the hills to the south of Ojai, there was an isolated cabin. A man lived there with his son, and they mostly kept to themselves. Their house was consumed by flames. The father was burned to death. The son survived, but barely. He was practically unrecognizable as a human being. A smoking wreck of a man burned all over. He did survive, but the pain must have been so unimaginable that his mind snapped. When the police and firemen arrived days after the fire, they found a gruesome scene. The father had been flayed. His skin was removed from his body, peeled off like he was a piece of fruit. The man's body was hanging from a nearby tree. Hearing an inhuman, labored wheezing coming from a nearby bush that had escaped the flames, the officers converged. Suddenly, something bolted out. A mass of charred flesh, somehow impossibly still able to move. Gagging at the smell, the officers lost their conviction, and the son escaped. He ran into the hills, and that was the last time anyone saw him up close. He had become the Charman of Ojai, California.
Charman. Let's go.
People say the Charman is still there. He must be ancient now. But it seems his insane rage has given him the strength and life beyond the mortal. Or perhaps he really did die in that fire so many years ago. Maybe what we know as the Charman is a ghost or a specter reenacting the horrific circumstances of its death. It seems that he wants more skins. Human skins. Skins to replace his own, perhaps. The Charman most frequently lurks around Camp Comfort. He has been known to stalk the camp at night, not quite brave enough to enter the tents. Explore the trails of Camp Comfort late at night, particularly around Creek Road, and he just might make an appearance. He's fast, so be ready. You'll hear the crackling of brush. The Charman isn't particularly stealthy, and he makes a racket stomping through the undergrowth. Some have reported moans and groans as branches and thorns scrape against his very sensitive skin. Others say that he's silent as the grave, and the sounds of his passage can easily be mistaken for those of an animal. When he emerges, they say that you'll know it beyond a shadow of a doubt. Charging straight at you, out in the open, his face a collection of open sores and his skin gruesomely burned beyond all reckoning. It's likely that you'll break and run at the sight. He howls, shrieks, ranting and raving about all the horrible things he'll do when he gets you. He can't be reasoned with, though many have tried. And if he does catch you, well, let's just say you won't return to tell the tale.
Oh, snap.
The Charman.
That's good. That's good, man. Like that ties in a lot of like, I don't know, like it's not just summer camp. Like I have a, I don't know, like like when I was in high school, I knew somebody who was badly burned.
Oh, that's right.
And like, dude, it's like there's a lot of pretty accurate descriptions there.
Yeah.
Like just as far as like the pain continues even as they look healed and like,
right.
Like it's amazing what people can come back from. I don't know, man. That's good. That's good.
It's a good story.
Oh, that's good.
So some movies that are kind of, we've been talking about summer camp movies. There's actually a Charman movie.
Really?
Yes, it is called Charman. And it's a kind of a found footage kind of indie flick.
Okay.
And really there's another very popular piece of folklore around Ojai called the Ojai vampire. And so the Charman movie is like a found footage mockumentary style where these guys are going to Ojai to make a documentary about the Ojai vampire.
Okay.
And as they are doing so, they encounter the Charman. And then they learn this whole new mythology that they didn't even expect to learn about.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It has terrible ratings.
Sure.
I'm sure it's super low budget. But Charman story, Charman movie, Charmander.
I thought, okay, piggybacking off of a bad joke, I thought you were going to say there's a movie based on him. It's called Star Wars, but I'm glad that you didn't go that direction. Because, but I mean, if you think like kind of these descriptions in this story are like universal. Like a lot of burn victims have effects to their lungs. A lot of burn victims have this continuous pain afterwards. A lot of burn victims will continue to have that kind of PTSD.
Right.
Obviously, I remain somewhat ignorant on the situation. So if I'm wrong, please call me out, like in our comments or whatever.
Am I wrong? You're going to look at me and tell me that I'm wrong?
You can look at me and tell me that I'm wrong. Cause this is like secondhand account, but this is what I understand. And so, I would love to know more information about this stuff, but I feel like the scary parts of some of these stories are like the reality that they are based in, whether they're true or whether they are folklore. It's the fact that like, there's a lot of factual information stacked up into these stories that say like, hey, these very well could exist.
Yeah.
And this is another example of like, even if Charman doesn't exist now, just due to age, Charman could have existed for a long time, just as a human that mentally snapped into survival mode.
Right.
Like,
it's kind of like a combination of like some kind of traumatic stress and like mental health, but then also like feral human.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which, there's tons of stories like that.
Absolutely.
Just feral humans living in the wild, and they just revert to this like animalistic primal survival instinct. And like we see them and they barely recognize them as human, but like, well, at one time they were.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah. A couple other summer camp movies, just wrapping up our summer camp series here. We got Bloody Bible Camp.
Oh, I think I attended that. No, I'm just kidding.
Actually, I think now that you say that, I think I said Bloody Bible Camp for a different episode, and you made the same damn joke.
Oh, no.
And if that's the case, I'm leaving it in.
I'm very consistent
because that's funny as hell.
I'm very consistent in my jokes. I've never taken like a media or communications course, but there's one movie. Sorry, this is a sidebar. I know we're trying to just list some movies, but I keep sidebarring us.
Yeah, you do.
There's a movie. I can't remember what movie it is. We've watched it a couple times, and I say at a specific scene, I can't even tell you what movie it is, but we've watched it many times. And during a specific scene, I say I would dick slap that guy, and nobody knows. Does that mean I would slap his dick? Would I slap him with my dick? There's a lot of different interpretations, but every time we say it,
slapping his dick.
Are we slapping? Is he slapping?
Are
like,
you slapping
are we?
There's a lot of ways to interpret it.
But I'm very consistent. Every time I think we've watched it 3 times, and I've said it all 3 times. So I'm consistent in my jokes. There we go. Boom, Bloody Camp. I've attended. let's continue our
Yep.
list.
And then today's movie, which is the final film in the Sleepaway Camp series, Return to Sleepaway Camp 2008.
Let's go.
And yeah, that we'll take a break and come back with our feature presentation.
So if I can take like 2 minutes, knowing me, it's going to take 10. I'm very excited for this. This series has been really fun for me because it's been touted. I've known very little about it other than it's just a summer camp series. We've had ups, we've had downs, we've had like the fact that 2 was lower than 3 just because I knew kind of what was coming. Like it's been fun. All of it, bad movies, good movies, everything in between, but it's just been really fun. And like, that's kind of like, I'm really excited to wrap it, but also it's like, but that means it's done. Like that means like, and we could watch Bloody Bible Camp. We could do that, or we could just move on and like, maybe we'll circle back to that. But I'm very excited to watch Return to Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
It'll be my first time viewing it as well. Yeah, man, it's this whole series really. Someone commented today on Facebook on our post and said, "Oh my," because I told them we're doing Sleepaway Camp series, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's literally one of my favorite trilogies." And I was like, like this is my second time viewing the original trilogy, and I think it's one of mine too.
It's like, so good.
It's real hard. It's this sounds crazy. But it's hard at this point in my life if I'm just sitting around with a group of friends to be like, hey, let's throw on a Friday the 13th versus let's throw on a Sleepaway Camp.
Well, and I feel like because, oh God, that was, if one of my English students ever started an essay with that statement. But I think it's because we have this essence of Friday the 13th that we want to be captured. And it's really only captured in the first one.
Yeah.
And even in the remakes, even in the Rob Zombie stuff, even in like, it really isn't captured.
Sure.
Like it is captured in the first one and a little bit in the second one, but in Sleepaway Camp, for better or worse, it is captured. Now, how do you want it captured? How do you want it portrayed? Do you want to know the killer? Do you want this kind of whodunit feature? Yeah. Depending on which actress is portraying what, there are, in my book, kind of pros and cons, pluses and minuses, but to kind of even flesh it out even further to kind of who can handle what. Mm-hmm. I mean, it kind of gives you the spectrum of, okay, my wife who hates horror movies couldn't handle 1, but she could probably handle 2.
Right.
And she could, if knowing 2 could handle 3, mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And like, and okay, close your eyes for this one. And I know for those who have seen it, like, but like, that's how she is. But like, I don't know. It's just great. It embodies a lot for a lot of different people. And like I said, I'm excited for going in, knowing it's kind of the victory lap kind of thing.
Victory lap, return to form.
We've seen that a lot. I would say like 2017 to 2020.
Yes.
And knowing that this is before its time, mm-hmm. And kind of embodying that, knowing that a director who directed this and really didn't direct much else, an actress who did this and not much else, like going into this knowing like, hey, we had kind of a flash in the pan and we have another opportunity, and let's either have fun with it. Let's get serious with it. I have no idea. I'm going into it blind. Like, let's see what happens. I'm super pumped for it.
See what happens.
Yep.
All right. We're going to take a break and be right back with our thoughts on Return to Sleepaway Camp. Return to Sleepaway Camp. Return to Sleepaway Camp.
Now available on home video. And now our feature presentation.
All right, before we get into our movie, if anybody out there wants to help out the show, please just tell a friend. That's how we've seen just the best growth, just word of mouth. It really does the best for us. If you want to, you can join us on Patreon at patreon.com/Nite Shift Video. That's NITE Shift Video, not GHT. You're going to find something different. I don't know if that's out there somewhere, but if it is, it's not us. And it could be something weird. Who knows? But if you join us on Patreon, you get access to our private Discord, let's watch audio commentary tracks, and all other kinds of physical goodies. Okay. Return to Sleepaway Camp. I feel the need for Tweed. The need to explain a little bit. So I had this movie all prepped and ready to go, because it is on Shudder's website.
That's what it says.
And if you search Return to Sleepaway Camp, the very first result on Google is a sponsored ad by Shudder, a sponsored result from Shudder.
I had a sponsored result and then a non-sponsored result. So my first 2 of 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this movie is not on Shudder.
It's not there.
If you search for it in the app, you can't find it. If you search for it on their website, you can find it. The listing's there, the page is there, there are reviews there and everything. But if you push play, nothing happens.
Yep.
So we ended up, it's not on Amazon Prime. I can't even rent it, like pay for it. I can't buy it. It's not on Vudu, anything. You can get the DVD on Amazon for like $50.
Yep. I was going to say I could have shipped it in a couple days for way too much money. Way too much money.
So we ended up finding it on I think it was like a Portuguese Daily Motion sister site or something.
Something like that.
For free with it was in English, but it just had I think Portuguese, maybe French. I'm not sure. Portuguese is that weird one that sometimes it looks like Spanish, but then I know enough Spanish and they're like, that's not Spanish.
Yep.
So I'm guessing it was Portuguese. I don't know. It had subtitles, but the movie was in English. So we were fine. Just weird words that we couldn't understand popping up on the bottom of the screen. So the covers for this movie, there's a few of them out there. I didn't get them pulled up because we actually had to use my laptop to watch this movie, which we normally don't do. Okay, so I got it now.
Okay.
We'll do a transition. Now we have the fucking cover art. So the first one here I like. It has some kind of old school Friday the 13th vibes. It reminds me of the original Friday the 13th art.
Yeah,
which I have back here somewhere right here. Because you kind of get that silhouette. It's just upside down and in the water, which is kind of cool.
It also has that kind of early 2000s vibe though as well, which is not I don't know, it's not trying to be vintage, but in 2020 it is looking older.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a definite case. Okay, trying to control 2 computers at once here. This one is very 2000s.
Yeah.
And I hate it.
Yeah.
It gives me I spit on your grave vibes.
Oh, 100%.
And it's terrible.
Yep.
And then there was this one that someone did that is kind of in that same kind of hand drawn watercolor style of all of the Scream Factory re-releases. So it kind of fits with those, which is fine.
I feel like it fits with this movie, but it doesn't really fit with the series. If I was coming in, if I would have seen that before we watched this, I would have been like, what is this hooded figure?
Right.
What is happening here?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I would say the first one that I saw, I think is the original, maybe. I don't really know. It's definitely the best out of these selections. And also it kind of gives me a Goosebumps vibe because it even has the little tagline in white kind of down there in the corner.
Yeah.
Which is the tagline to this movie is kids can be so mean. Okay.
Okay.
Whatever. I guess.
Okay.
I guess. So I guess we'll do the back of the box. I think we're ready for that now. This movie, guys, it just kind of has me in a little bit of a difficult place. Yeah. It's summer camp as usual at Camp Nite, where the kids torment each other for fun, while the underpaid camp staff provides as little supervision as possible. Greedy camp owner Frank and junior partner Ronnie do their best to keep everyone in line, but something sinister is about to put a slash in the roster. When campers and staff mysteriously begin disappearing and turning into gruesome corpses, paranoid Ronnie can't shake the memory of a series of grisly murders that took place at Camp Arawak, where he worked 2 decades earlier.
Okay.
So we know off the bat, we got Ronnie coming back from the first movie.
Yeah.
Ronnie's there.
Yeah, he is.
He's there. You can't say he's not.
Yep. Nope. Not trying.
The only really shifty I have for this movie, I feel like I have to give one to, I guess I have 3. I have to give one to Felissa Rose as Angela just for coming back. Like, I think that's just warranted. And then I didn't even write down his name because I didn't even know he was going to be in the movie. But the kid who plays Ricky,
the cousin,
in the first movie, cousin Ricky, comes back as himself.
Pretty recognizable,
kind of delivers his lines in the same way. He has a good Angela. Which he has like 6 of in the first movie. Like he nailed it. Nailed it. And then my third one goes to Isaac Hayes, who comes in as the chef, and he's also chef in South Park.
Oh, that's my favorite.
And he actually passed away very shortly after the release of this film, which continues kind of the Sleepaway Camp legacy of the most well-known actors in most of these movies usually pass away shortly after they do these movies, which is kind of weird. We're going to talk about the budget here. So the budget for the earlier Sleepaway Camps was in like the 400,000 and less category.
Which would make sense.
The budget for this movie was $4 million.
Where did all of it go?
Which I know, like, filmmaking does become, exponentially more expensive as time goes on. But like, this is those numbers. These are those numbers that make me question, like this whole, like, COVID-19 has brought like a whole new like mindset in my mind of like, because like the cost to make a movie in a current world, because like some movies are finally starting to start shooting again, but the cost is going to be even so much exponentially more because like they're doing crazy hours. They like it crazy in the terms of like they can't film at certain times, and like they can't have as many people on set and all this stuff. Like they're talking about doing like CGI for any scenes of like people that are like touching. So like sex scenes in movies, or even just like romantic, like kissing makeout scenes will be like all CGI for like the foreseeable future. And like people are getting like their temperatures checked and like symptoms checked by a doctor like every day before you go on set, and like all this crazy stuff. Like making a movie is going to be insanely prohibitive, but in the same breath, making a movie doesn't have to cost. God, I wish I even knew the numbers. I mean, an Avengers movie costs hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
Like we're not even talking just like $50 million, like hundreds of millions of dollars. And it just doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. But they make it do that for some reason. And this is an eye-opener to me. The fact that you made the first movie on less than 400,000. Yes, you can take into account inflation and technology and all this shit, but like you made it for less than a quarter of this movie.
Yep.
And it looked better.
Yep.
The acting was better.
Yep.
It sounded better.
Yep.
Like it was still a low budget B movie kind of shit show, but like so much better than this movie.
Yeah, and I feel like kind of the recognizable faces and names that we got in this one weren't like notable.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's one guy who is in The Sopranos.
Right.
There's one guy who is like kind of that classic like 90s early 2000s sitcom kind of face.
Yep.
Like I can't really put him to anything. And then just some returners. Like
Right.
what is the big money here?
Yeah.
There's really not great practical effects. Like I don't know. They're okay.
I mean, I guess they're on par with the other movies,
but they're not big money.
No,
like they're not.
No.
Like that's what's weird.
Yeah. It's not like they're like blowing up buildings and shit. Like that's not happening.
Like where did the inflation happen?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
So we have a body count here. We're gonna run through. There are 9 total kills in the film.
Okay.
We're gonna start off. Number 1 is Deep Fry Guy.
This is good.
Is a great kind of callback to the first movie.
Little homage.
And then it just changes up. A little bit, you know.
Yeah.
Like in the first one, we had the guy with like I think it was soup or chili.
It was
or
like
something.
it was a big pot that kind of got
Yeah, and instead of it dumping on him, this guy just gets dipped into the fryer.
Yeah,
which is great.
It's good.
Next we have the Ghast Stoner.
Yeah, it's okay.
I mean, interesting enough to have a hose shoved down his throat and then just pump his guts full of gasoline.
Yeah,
that's something.
Yeah.
Next up was what was the guy's name? Was it Frank? Yep. Camp owner Frank. He becomes what I called a rat cage face. Which this is kind of a classic one. Like, I forget what that sound bite is from. There's a sound bite that's either from like a movie or a TV show or something. And I just remember like I inserted it onto like a mix CD once because I thought it was hilarious.
Okay.
But it's like I know 100,000 ways to kill a man or something like that. And then there's like a little kid's voice that comes on, and it's like I feel like it's from The Simpsons. It seems like it would be from The Simpsons.
Okay.
And then like this little kid's voice comes on. It's like, you can take a jar of rats and glue it to his face and then heat up the jar so the rats only have one way to get out, and it's to eat its way out through his face. And the like gruff voice comes back on. It's like 100,001.
I feel like the 100,000 ways is like the what's the movie with Liam Neeson where he's like
Taken?
Like yeah. I feel like okay.
Yeah. I can't remember what it's from, but like, so this is in my mind, this is sort of a classic thing. She just takes this bird cage, howls it out, sticks it over his head, shuts it, gets some angry rats, and shoves them in the cage.
Yep.
We don't see a lot at first, but then whenever they discover the body, we see that these are
some
hungry ass rats.
Yeah, and they like reference them earlier in the movie of like, we got a rat issue,
problem,
but I don't know. Like, I feel like it. Just put a pin in this conversation. Like, kind of goes back to the whole movie where like there's a lot going on, but nothing going on. Where like we have a conversation about rats, but is it important? I don't know. We'll keep moving.
Yeah. So next up, kill number 4 is Dick Rip.
Oh,
which I guess I'll just leave that. I'll leave that hanging, so to speak.
There is a lot to this scene.
Yep.
And it demands a lot. Like oddly.
Sure.
You know, like it seems obvious and then like it keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a scene.
It's a scene.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Next up, we have probably the weirdest one. This barbed wire trap. She like drives the Jeep through some barbed wire that was set up, and then somehow that barbed wire just completely enwraps itself around her face,
but doesn't kill her.
Doesn't kill her
immediately.
Right. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like I expected her to just get like beheaded by.
That's what I was expecting.
Or it to like just like totally gouge out her eyes or something, and then we see her and like she's dying, but no, it somehow wraps around just her head and not the rest of the car.
Yeah, and it's weird because it happens like 5 or 10 minutes before we see the end result. So
True.
it's like, oh, she's driving.
We're just like, whoa.
Pop goes the head, or something. And then it's like, oh, wait, what? Why isn't it wrapped around the Jeep? Why isn't it wrapped around the seats? Yeah.
Strange. Next up, we have this might be our favorite one. We have the bed of nails.
This is good.
Oh, man.
This is good.
So character on a lower bunk looks up to see the upper bunk has just, I'm assuming they were all nails, screws, some spiky instruments shoved through the top. And then the killer waiting in the rafters jumps through the top bunk and just smashes, just squishies.
I'd be very interested to know what came out first, this movie or Black Sheep, because like working at a camp, I would say like if you jumped really hard on a top bunk, you wouldn't do that.
Right.
But Black Sheep is the one where like Tommy or oh gosh, what's his name? Chris Farley is in the top bunk. He like falls through on
that would have
on
been
David
way
Spade
before this movie.
and like squishes him, and it gives you that idea that like, oh, that can happen.
Right.
And then this says like, what if that happens as a horror movie?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
a
okay.
good kill though.
It's a good kill.
It's a good kill that you don't really expect.
Yeah.
Next up is we have old TC, our number one hated character in the film, other than maybe Alan. We'll get to those guys. But TC, which who the fuck is named TC? And if you are named TC and you go by TC, what's your real name? Thomas Charlie? Like the fuck? Like
I don't know. No offense, but that's a stupid name.
That's a dumbass name, TC.
Come on, TC.
So TC gets stabbed in the eye with a broomstick.
Yeah, he does.
And it's his own goddamn stupid ass fault because he gets almost stabbed with the broomstick and he sees the hole that the broomstick came out of. And then he just keeps sticking his eye in front of it. Keeps looking down in the hole.
It's a bad move,
God,
TC.
TC, you and your pop collar deserved it. The great thing about that kill scene was TC has just an amazing blood-curdling scream that continues for a while. And then the reaction of his buddy who walks in and sees it all happen.
Has panties on his head.
He just came back from a panty raid.
On his neck. Has panties everywhere.
The best scream in the movie.
Yep.
Like maybe one of the best screams I've ever heard. Like it's just freaking great.
Yep.
Next up we have Michael, who got skinned like a frog. Michael did some frog skinning earlier in the episode, and that came back to haunt him in the end.
Yeah, it was bad.
Episode movie. And then we have the ninth kill, which is kind of it was a post-credit scene.
Yep.
Which you don't get a lot in horror movies. And it was sort of like a post-credit scene that I believe is happening before the movie takes place.
Yep.
So we get to see Angela before she comes into Camp Nite. She kills a police officer by kind of tricking him to like look under her car, and then she knocks the car down on top of him. And it's a really good kill, good head squish.
Yep.
It's pretty solid, but out of all of them, it's hard for me. I thought Bed of Nails was really creative, but Broomstick TC was probably the most entertaining to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that because it did enough cutaways to where it was like, oh, don't look at it one more time. Oh, you looked at it. Yeah. Oh, it didn't kill yet. I would say my favorite, this is going to be stupid, but my favorite was probably the end police officer.
Oh yeah.
Just because it gave us credence to the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
And also looking at the time frame, like, okay, I could see that. Like a good-natured small town cop getting under a car, knowing Angela was trying to get back into the camp. Mm-hmm. And it really needed it for the storyline.
Yep.
So,
all right, hit us up with just a vague, it doesn't have to be super detailed, just a general idea of kind of what this movie was about, how the things kind of played out. I think we can start off with Alan, who is kind of the main character of this movie
for the first half.
And you spend the whole movie not understanding who Alan is. Is he a bully? Is he a victim?
Yeah.
Are we supposed to like him? Because we don't.
No.
He's a shithead.
Yep.
I hate him. Like, a lot of the times when it's one of those times where like you're never supposed to feel like you're siding with the bully in like an 80s bully movie.
Right.
But like Alan sucks.
I also feel like watching this movie in 2020 is different than watching this movie in 85, whenever this movie came out. Like, I don't
This
know.
movie came out in 08.
Oh, shoot. That's right.
Yeah. The original was 84.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Right?
But
they definitely set it up like an 80s bully relationship. But I don't know if that was like, if that was their idea of like modernizing it, in that he bullies the younger kids because he's bullied by the older kids.
Yeah.
I feel like they're trying to make me feel sorry for him, but he's such a shithead to the younger kids that I don't feel sorry for him.
Yeah. If I do,
and the movie starts with him being bad.
Right.
That's like the opening shot is him being an asshole.
Right. And then the times when he's good, it draws on some weird like PC stuff right now.
Right.
Where like I feel like there's probably maybe some preying on mental illness that I don't necessarily want to like really encroach on, but like
no, because they don't necessarily say it, but then like at times he seems to act as if
I feel
there's
like
a challenge, or
I feel like that was like the point of his character,
right?
But also like I don't know, man. It's weird, and like for I would say that the most part, I didn't like his character.
Right.
Like, and I didn't empathize with it.
Right.
Like, it was this weird, like, crosshair of like, yeah, I'd prefer not to root for this guy. And he like painfully pushes his point. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. But he does have a catchphrase.
Oh God. Your ass stinks.
Your ass stinks. He says so many times.
It's too much.
Your ass stinks a lot. And then he gets into this when he's being bullied, he says, I hate you so bad.
I hate you so bad. Your ass stinks. Oh, it's so bad.
And then we have this character who comes in as the police officer to kind of like help keep the peace in the camp. They originally come to talk to the kids about the dangers of smoking.
Yeah.
And I forget what the thing's called, but he's got like the throat thing.
Yep.
And from the moment you see him, there's something weird going on.
Bad prosthetic nose.
Bad prosthetic nose. The facial hair also looked off from the beginning. Looked bad.
But also, so thinking in mind, this is 08. Yeah, it looked bad. If you thought about this in terms of an 80s movie, which is like, it's hard not to do.
Because
like
even it's trying to still play to that.
Right. And I would say so a lot of this movie, I was thinking in those terms, like, yeah, okay, bad prosthetics, like bad beard, bad nose. Like, it's easy to forget those, but it's bad. It's bad.
Actually, we get to a point in the film where I make a joke because we kind of know the general setup. We know Angela's returning in this movie. We've already talked about it because we knew Felissa Rose was in it.
Yeah.
And people are getting killed, but we never really know who it is. It tries to be a whodunit, but it's really hard to be a whodunit as a sequel because we know that it's supposed to be Angela.
Right.
Really, we're just trying to figure out how it's Angela, I guess.
Yep.
And because at one point they kind of try to throw you off and make you kind of think that it might be Alan. A lot of the characters think that it's Alan.
Yeah.
Which it's not. It's Angela. But I made a joke at one point when we're kind of getting into the heat of things. We got the body count had started piling up, and the cop shows up and he's talking into his little throat thing. And I said, "Oh, what if Angela is just dressed as that cop and she's using the throat thing to disguise her voice so that everyone just thinks that it's a man whenever she clearly has a woman's voice?" And that's literally what happens in the movie.
Yep.
That is it. That's
it.
Because that was the thing we couldn't figure out for a while, was like, yes, it was a bad prosthetic and the guy looked weird. The character was super goofy and didn't make any sense. But like, was that the character?
Right.
Were they creating this just crazy over the top character? No, it was Angela in disguise.
Yeah. And still over the top.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, we kind of wrap things up. We get to the end after all the bodies have fallen. It looks like Angela came to this camp, found how Alan was being treated, and for some reason resonated with that, and then just kind of came through and got revenge on anyone who did anything to Alan.
I feel like that's the part that I have the most issue with, because the old assistant camp counselor makes an appearance. Her old cousin makes an appearance. Like, there are these there are these homages to the original.
Yeah.
But it's just like, oh, this guy's misunderstood and we're gonna kill him. And like, yeah, you could take that approach, and I get that. But also, like, the original, like, Angela was kind of this like semi beloved, like only picked on because she did the right thing. And like, Alan is a dick.
Yep.
Like, he is
it's the problem with the movie, man.
Yeah. And you could say like, oh, well, she's making it right. But it's like, yeah, but he's made a lot of wrongs. And like, and if you play the like mental illness card, like, then it's like, oh God, this whole movie is messed up. Like you can't really go down that road.
Yeah.
Before you're just like, everybody needed to hit the stop button. So like, it's just weird, man. We're like, I feel like I don't like, there is no, like, in the original movie, like, when you get down to it, you're oddly like good for Angela, even though she killed all these people. Like, you kind of get to this point of like, good for her. And this one, you never really get there. You're like, who are you siding with?
Well, like, I think the same way that Sleepaway Camp may have been trying to have a conversation about transgender issues potentially way before its time, this movie may have been trying to do the same thing with mental illness.
Yeah. Maybe.
Like, it seems like I forget his last name. Robert is his first name. The director, like, really wants to like tackle these tough subjects, but he just doesn't know how.
Yeah. And then he laces the first half of his movie with just bad dialogue and bad kills. And maybe that's the case. Yeah. I don't know.
So I think it's one of those things that, like, kind of like what I've done at this point with the whole original trilogy, is like, just like tried to like separate a lot of that reasoning out and just go jump on It's a Small World, go down the boat knowing that like none of it makes any sense, but you're still going to enjoy it.
Yeah. All right. Come on. I'm on the boat ride.
You're on the boat ride. Okay. I do have one quote here. So this was Gordon Sullivan, who wrote a review for a website called DVD Verdict back whenever this movie first came out.
All right.
And he just had a great quote in his review. It said, "Return to Sleepaway Camp makes Sleepaway Camp 3 Teenage Wasteland look like Shakespeare." A poor script, total lack of compelling campers, and a too brief glimpse of Angela all spell trouble for this nostalgic trip back to Campland. I know that die-hard fans of the original film will likely get suckered into watching this, but everyone else should stay far, far away.
Ooh, I agree. I agree. I feel like, yeah, I agree.
Yep.
If I had to, like, I don't want to get into my rating snuggies, but like, yeah, I agree.
Hit me with your 1 to 5 scare scale. Let's go there. These movies have been notoriously not very scary.
Yeah, one. I'm gonna go 1.
Yeah.
It wasn't scary. Like even the kills, the fry, the bird cage, like there wasn't anything like overt.
Right.
There were, 1.
Yeah. It's not a scary movie. I agree. It's a 1. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna give this movie a thumbs down, which I think is the only thumbs down that I've given to any of them in the series.
Okay.
And I definitely think that the victory lap didn't need to happen.
Yeah.
You can watch it and you can have fun with it, and it's fine. Like, but it's not. It still wasn't as fun to me as even 3. Even though 3 is a bad movie. Like it's just a flat out bad movie. 2 as well. Like they're not good movies. You can make the argument that 1 actually is a good movie.
Yeah.
And like 2 and 3 aren't good, but you have a lot of fun watching them.
Yep.
This one's just not good. And I didn't have fun until the last 15 minutes.
Yeah. And like even it wasn't fun. It was like just kind of piecing together the rationale.
Right.
Like it wasn't like, oh, hey, this pieces everything together. It was like, oh, you have salvaged what you were hoping to do.
Yes.
Like it was weird.
Yeah. Chicken nuggies for me is going to be a 10%er.
Okay. I will go thumbs down as well.
It's a stinker, folks.
So it's a stinker. So I know I went thumbs up 1. I know I went thumbs down 2. I believe I went thumbs up 3.
I think you did as well.
And I'm going thumbs down here. And I would say it's not worth 4. If you are watching the quote unquote trilogy, stop at 3, which hurts because I like the victory lap thing.
Yeah.
But stop.
I like it in theory.
Stop. Mm-hmm. Just too much, too late.
Yeah.
Is all I can really say. Yeah. And I would say like 24% nuggies. Like if you have to finish this saga, like I guess but it's so far sub 50.
Yeah. Now there is, and I have the DVD somewhere. I have to find it. There is the scrapped Sleepaway Camp 4 that like there is some like kind of test footage of that like was released as a movie, clearly unfinished.
Okay.
We may have to do like a special bonus episode.
Maybe a little Patreon,
kind of circle around back to that at some point. First I gotta find it. I can't find my survival kit. But yeah, that movie was like in production and got canceled.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then they came back. I guess it would have been about 20 years later for the next one. And
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're left with. It's a 21% on Rotten Tomatoes. So we're kind of right in the same ballpark.
Yep.
You had it.
Yep.
But yeah, it's not a great.
I would go for a little like early nugget to see like what they were going with. Like,
yeah,
you know, like I would
see what's going to be.
Yeah. I just feel like what it, and I feel like it kind of had an identity crisis of like, what do I want to be? What conversation do I want to have?
Sure.
And then it like racked up some kills, and it's like, okay, this is like, it went from, are we following this character where we might have a conversation, to, oh, we're just stacking bodies, and then we tried to get back to things. It was weird. It was just, it didn't know what it wanted to be. So, it was bad.
Not good. So that about wraps it up for us here for Night Shift Video. I am a horrible host, and my name is James, and this guy is...
I'm Cody.
We're just saying, your ass stinks.